Support WrestleTalk!
Thanks for your support on Patreon. Arnie K. The K stands for the coolest dude ever. The IIconics pin the tag team champions. Kofi Kingston runs the Gauntlet, but Kofi Mania is screwed once again. And is Kurt Angle really unhappy with WWE? Click the timestamps down below to jump ahead to Ollie Davis's coverage of the latest wrestling news. I am Luke Owen. Press the thumbs up and screw that subscriber button harder than Vince screwed Kofi Kingston, and leave a comment down below to answer our question of the day. Who would you like to see face Asuka at WrestleMania in just a few weeks? And make sure you vote in the poll above my head to let me know what you thought of the show, where you can choose from Smackdown, Smacktastic, Smack Bang in the Middle, Smackdowner, and a smack in the face. This is the 19th of March 2019 edition of SmackDown Live. Despite advertising that Kofi Kingston's Gauntlet match would start the show, hard subject to change, babyface Miz came out to a great reaction and cut an even better promo on Shane McMahon. Miz recapped his relationship with Shane, calling him a disgusting human being just like his father Vince McMahon, which was nice foreshadowing for what would happen later in the night. Miz said that Shane wasn't born the best in the world, he's just the worst, saying that he would beat him at WrestleMania. This was a really good promo, and I'm so happy to be wrong about Miz being a babyface. He has really nailed this role and totally has the crowd on his side. Bayley and Sasha Banks actually showed up on SmackDown with their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, and then had a match with the IIconics, who called them out last week. It wasn't a particularly great match, and featured the still confusing Lacey Evans catwalk gimmick, and saw Peyton Royce pin Sasha Banks with the help of Billie Kay on the outside, surely setting up a four corners tag match at Mania between Boss and Hug, IIconics, Nia Jax and Tamina, and the Divas of Doom. In a backstage interview, Rey Mysterio announced that he would be facing Samoa Joe for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. I'm so glad we spent months and months building that Rey vs Andrade pay-per-view match. But more importantly was the cameo from Rey's son Dominic, who was once on the line in Rey Mysterio's Daddy in the Bank ladder match against Eddie Guerrero. Dominic revealed that he would be ringside for Rey's match against Joe at WrestleMania, meaning we should get a few weeks of "Ooh, Dominic!" WrestleTalk aren't the only ones to get a nice upgrade around these parts, as Kevin Owens came out for the new and improved KO show, this time with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. There was a bit of chatter early on, and it eventually broke down into a brawl. While the crowd were hotter for this than they were last week, I can't help but feel that this feud has lost all of its momentum. Hopefully the man can come around once again before we get to New York. AJ Styles did a quick interview saying he'll beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and Daniel Bryan cut an in-ring promo saying that Kofi Kingston is a B+ player, and B+ just isn't good enough, saying that Kofi hasn't really earned this spot, because of course he was handpicked by WWE to replace Mustafa Ali in the Elimination Chamber. And this was another really great promo by Bryan. It gives his character even more depth in terms of why he doesn't like Kofi Kingston. But first, Kofi needed to run the Gauntlet match, which started off with him having a really good match against Sheamus. And to add even more beauty to this show-long storyline, throughout the match you had more and more members of the SmackDown babyface roster watch the match alongside Xavier Woods and Big E, until we had all the SmackDown roster watching the TV. Kofi pinned Sheamus, and then pinned Cesaro with the SOS in a match that featured a wonderful delayed package suplex from the Swiss Superman. Oddly, Rowan was not saved to be the final boss, despite all that booking he had last week, and he quickly eliminated himself with a chair shot and an iron claw through the table, which really put Kofi in a tough spot when taking on Samoa Joe next, unable to mount any offense against the bigger and dominating United States champion, making Kofi's surprise roll-up all the more effective. A pissed off Joe then choked out Kofi with a Kikina clutch, which really put Kofi in a bind when he faced Randy Orton as his final opponent, and this featured a lovely callback to Orton calling Kofi stupid way back when, and there was a huge pop when Kofi rolled up Orton to get the win and successfully run the Gauntlet. The audience celebrated, the SmackDown roster celebrated, New Day celebrated, and then Vince McMahon came out and said the only way Kofi would get to Mania now is if he can beat WWE Champion Daniel Bryan, which he was sadly unable to do, with Bryan picking up the win against an exhausted Kofi Kingston to once again screw Kofi Mania. There was a brilliant near fall in this little encounter, and the sight of Kofi losing his Mania position once again was truly heartbreaking. Hopefully next week we can get Occupy SmackDown with New Day and officially announce Kofi versus Bryan for WrestleMania. I know a lot of people have been down on Kofi's storyline, but I think Kofi versus Bryan is one of the better booked bits of WWE in the run-up to WrestleMania. And with all that drama of the Kofi Gauntlet match, this was a tremendous episode of SmackDown Live. And though the match wasn't great, seeing Bayley and Sasha Banks on SmackDown was fun, and The Miz cut a really great promo on Shane McMahon. But it was this Kofi Kingston performance and the booking around it that put this edition of SmackDown onto another level. This week's SmackDown Live, here's SmackDown! And now over to Ollie Davis with the news. And is Kurt Angle really unhappy with WWE?
Great review, Luke, and absolutely splendid graphics. Even if it does mean the impending destruction of WrestleTalk by the hands of Fakador's Screenstalker assimilation, which must conclude soon, as must Kofi's quest to get his WrestleMania match. But before then, WWE have announced a huge update to SmackDown's other major, always focused on main event storyline, because they finally kind of put some plans in place for Asuka's Women's Championship. It seems chief amongst all the people not ready for Asuka is WWE's creative team, as since defeating Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble, she's barely been featured on TV, and when she has, it's just been as the backdrop to a Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville dissension storyline. Kayla Braxton announced in a WWE.com exclusive last night, though, where all the biggest matches are made, that Rose and Deville will compete in a fatal four-way match against Carmella and Naomi on next week's SmackDown to decide the #1 contender for Asuka's women's title at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 35 is shaping up to be an even more ridiculously long show than usual, with some reports listing up to 17 matches on the card. But none of the advertised bouts have been as negatively received as Kurt Angle's retirement match on this week's Raw. Angle revealed on Monday that of all the people he wants to face in his retirement match at WrestleMania next month, amongst a roster that includes John Cena, Samoa Joe, sometimes The Undertaker, AJ Styles, hell, even evil Mirrorverse master Mojo Rawley, he chose Baron Corbin. The announcement was incredibly negatively received, getting booed by the live Chicago crowd, and the YouTube version of the segment racking up a huge 14,000 dislikes to 6,000 likes ratio. Fans immediately entered the first stage of grief upon hearing the announcement, denial, by claiming this would all be a swerve from WWE. Justin LaBar even reported as much, tweeting, "Corbin versus Angle is to get people to appreciate the actual match they will get. They will remove Corbin just like they did him as general manager." According to the very reliable PW Insider, though, it's not true, it's damn not true, writing, "They could always change course, but the plan backstage before Raw was 100% Corbin versus Angle on the 7th of April at MetLife Stadium." Kurt has put a brave face on while promoting the match, saying in a backstage interview, "Sure, I'd love to face John Cena or AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or Braun Strowman, but Baron Corbin's a great wrestler. Regardless of how you feel about him, he's really good, and he's a great challenge for me at WrestleMania. I believe that when I beat him, I'll be a happily retired man." And posting on Instagram, "I realize it's not the most popular decision from a fan's perspective, but I will make Corbin tap out on the biggest stage of them all." Baron he's a legit tough guy. Kurt's own wife, Giovanna Angle, however, disagrees, tweeting during Monday's episode of Raw, the fans chanting, "We want Cena, we feel ya." Giovanna has since deleted that post though, and has followed up with the tweet, "Guys, it's pro wrestling. It's like watching a movie. I'm in no way upset with my husband wrestling Corbin, LOL. I love having fun with y'all." But it is really nice to see how many fans support Kurt and how he should be sent off. Heart emoji! Hashtag all love. Kurt's wife's tweet might reveal his own backstage feelings on the Corbin match though, as PW Insider is also reporting the word we have heard is Angle was hoping for a more high-profile final opponent. "I, for one, won't make the same mistake. I'm going to stand up for myself and for WrestleTalk. You've slowly been infiltrating this channel for almost a year, El Fakador. We took you in. You helped us wage war against Cultaholic. We danced alongside each other live on stage at Wrestling MediaCon. I called you a brother. But now you hack our videos with Destroy WrestleTalk bumpers. Objectively really nice, more professional graphics. fix, and you even manipulate and take what is most precious to me. My Luke Owen. It's time to put an end to this fakeador. I challenge you to show up and host tomorrow's Super News on WrestleTalk, and then we'll have a face-to-face showdown to find out what you really want. Tell me what you want, fakeador. Tell me what you want. Watch my raw review of how WWE botched Kurt Angle's retirement announcement, and subscribe to Screenstalker by clicking the button on the right to infiltrate them and report back. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.